For today's review, we are looking at Metallo. Now, before I talk about the accessories and the figure, let's take a quick look at the data profile card that is included. And as you can see, there is this beautiful comic book artwork of Metallo. And I'm going to be honest, I don't recognize this version of Metallo at all. I've never seen this costume depiction for the character before until this figure came out sometime last year. In terms of the version I'm more familiar with, it is of course the one that looks like a Terminator robot. Now, if you do recognize this version and you know where it comes from, feel free to let me know in the comments below, because there is no mention of a source material here at all for this card, so that is quite unfortunate. On the back, his real name is John Corbin, and it reads, Metallo is made up of two vital components, advanced technology and the deprived human mind of John Corbin, with these linked together by a cybernetic interface and powered by kryptonite. Metallo has become a living weapon who only seems happy when targeting Metropolis's true Man of Steel, Superman. And that's a pretty good read-up on who Metallo is as a character. Moving on into accessories, this figure only comes with one accessory in the form of kryptonite, which is quite fitting for the character. And the overall sculpt of this kryptonite accessory is not too bad. It is made out of translucent green plastic, and as you can see on the bottom, this is meant to be placed on the ground next to him. He can't hold this in his hands because he doesn't have any interchangeable hands to hold this accessory, which is quite unfortunate. It would have been awesome if he came with like a hand that's like flat like this, so you can put the kryptonite accessory on top so he can hold it in this manner, but you can't even do that, so that is unfortunate. And that's pretty much all the accessories that he has. And now let's talk about the aesthetics of this action figure. And the first thing I want to point out right away is the fact that the design of the figure is very different from the design that you see in the source material. Even though the color patterns up here are similar to what you see in the photo, and of course the head sculpt is similar as well, the entirety of the costume is not the same. In the photo, he's wearing a spandex costume, but for the figure itself, he's wearing a full suit of armor. And it makes me question, did they make this change because it was some sort of creative liberty? Or was this change done because it was a cost-cutting measure so they could just reuse all these parts instead of sculpting new parts for this design of Metallo? I don't actually know what happened behind the scenes here, but this goes back to what I said in my Lex Luthor review, where I felt that the reused parts for this particular figure just felt really strange and also very lazy, because the actual source material of the costume that he's wearing stands out to me more than what we got for the actual figure itself. Now, for the parts that I do like about this figure that are, I guess, a little bit different, I do like this emblem here that is, I guess, the logo for Adam, I think. So I do like the fact that this is in the center of the chest here, and this is like a new part that they sculpted. For his collar here, it's also been retooled to look a little bit different, so that's not bad. And for the head sculpt, it's a very cool looking head sculpt. I think you can use this for a custom Doctor Doom if you want to make like a 7-inch scale Doctor Doom custom figure, because it does kind of look like Doctor Doom's mask a little bit, so there's that. And of course, the expression that he's giving off right now is he's angry. So yeah. But the rest of the figure on the front side, of course, is pretty much the same parts that we've seen in the Luthor video. It's just repainted in a very different color. Reminds me a lot of the Christmas colors, as you can see, with the red and the green. So there's that. And for the back side, it's pretty much all red here as well. Now, this area is also different, so they also retooled the back here a little bit. So that's cool. And that's pretty much all the aesthetics that I can really talk about, because everything's the same. And now let's move on to comparisons, because, well, there's really no point of doing articulation since it is the same articulation that we saw on the Luthor figures. So, yeah. Okay, let's bring in some figures to compare him with. And, of course, here he is next to Lex Luthor himself. And, they look pretty good together on the shelf, right? As you can see. But of course, the version of Metallo that I think most people would want this Luthor next to is that Terminator-looking one, right? Not this one. So, okay, there's Luthor. And then here's another Luthor, which is, of course, the dark side version, I guess. Yeah, whatever you want to call this one. So, there they are. And here he is next to Atomic Skull. Also another figure that reuses parts from Luthor. Here he is next to Cyborg Superman. I don't exactly think this works together because, this Cyborg Superman looks very different from everyone else. So, but I guess you could make it work, right? And here he is next to Eradicator. Yeah, Eradicator is short next to a lot of these other figures that I have in my collection. It's because the infected Superman body buck just doesn't really have the right height scale for some of the characters that they've used that body buck for. So, yeah, there's that. And, of course, last but not least, here he is next to the Silver Age Superman. And, yeah, I guess if you want Metallo to fight Superman, this could technically work, but... of course, the version of Metallo that I want to see on my shelf fight Superman is, of course, the other one. And hopefully we will get that version in the future before this line ends. So, yeah. All right. And that's going to do for the comparisons for today's video. If you found today's review on this version of Metallo informative, give this video a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more action figure content and whatever else I do on here, it would be much appreciated. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next video.